Hello leaders, hope you're all doing well. Again, it's been a really long time since I've made a video, but it was necessary to make one at this particular moment, and I had a few triggers in terms of what I wanted to talk about today. So, one of the things that is a hot topic right now, I went to a conference recently and it was very, very interesting that in the UAE, in Dubai, this is something that I came across. So much great work is being done in our schools right now, but I wanted to give my opinion about this, which is to do with this whole idea of diversity, equity and inclusion. Okay, so many things are being done around our schools, so many things are being talked about in terms of the protected characteristics, various other aspects of this. But I want to talk particularly when it comes to leadership. Okay, now when I went to this conference and I was reflecting on my own self and my school, and when it came to the leadership in my school, I have within my immediate senior leadership team, there is a total of 14 of us, and out of 14 of us, there are 2 members who come from a minority ethnic community, myself and my director of Arabic. Particularly, and of course with Director of Arabic is a very specific specialism, of course will be an Arab for that, but when it comes to all the other leaders, I'm the only minority in the school. So when I was listening to my colleagues speak about diversity and what they're trying to do, and I thought, hang on a minute, what's happening here? Why is it that I'm not the only minority in my school? And what is the cause of this? And when I also looked at and of course you always judge other schools as well, when it comes to their leadership, very few minorities of any background unfortunately represent our schools. So what is the reason for this? We're doing a lot when it comes to diversity for our students and equity and inclusion. However, what about our staff? Not teachers, leaders specifically I'm talking here. We are still underrepresented. Minorities, females, mothers particularly are underrepresented when you go further up in terms of school leadership and beyond that. So why is this? Well, one of the reasons that I found, for example, I recently interviewed and recruited for my vice principal, and there were so many candidates. Very few applications came from minority communities. This particular role was a UK experienced vice principal. However, we had very few. And looking back at it, when I reviewed and long-listed and short-listed the particular candidates, it was unfortunate that there were very few candidates who came from a minority ethnic background. They lacked the rigor in terms of experience. That was the first trait that I noticed. They lacked the experience, the type of experience required to be shortlisted for the vice principalship here, for example. Secondly, unfortunately, there was a lot of movement, and this wasn't 1 or 2 candidates. I had over a few hundred applicants, and whittled it down to a long list of 20 and then a short list of 5 or 6. So I noticed this and I thought, well, why is this? And I reflected back on my own experiences back in the UK as well as here, that I had very few opportunities given to me coming from particular areas. You probably tell from the accent, I come from Bradford, but coming from the north, coming from Yorkshire, coming from these particular communities, these schools that are there were very few opportunities for me to grow as a leader, unfortunately, because there was so much competition as well to grow as a leader. Not everyone got that. When you come from a larger city, growing communities, larger schools, perhaps there are better opportunities for you, but I'm speaking for myself and my opinion, very few opportunities to grow. So it's not a case of people are not applying. My colleagues are not applying because they're not being given the exposure, they're not being nurtured well enough to apply for these headships, principalships, vice principal roles, head of schools, deputy headships, assistant headships, because they're struggling to make their way up the food chain, if you will, to apply for these particular roles, which makes it challenging for the likes of me on the other side, looking at CVs and saying, no, there's types of schools that they've gone to, the types of experience that they've had, it's not right to run a school of 3,000 and a whole school vice principal, unfortunately. So what practical advice I can give you to break this barrier? The first thing I will genuinely say to you is you'll have to work twice as hard for half as much. Okay, and what I mean by that is whenever there's an opportunity, there may not be a position, but there's an opportunity for you to do a particular project. Maybe you're a head of department, or maybe you're a head of year. However, there may be an opportunity for you to do a whole school project on behavior, well-being. There may be a project for you to look at achievement, raising standards, pedagogical practices, a particular skill, focusing on handwriting whole school, something larger than your year group or your department. Do as many of these projects as you possibly can. Expose yourself to them. That might mean that you don't have your evenings to yourself, unfortunately, but that's what it will take to get this, to get the exposure and the experience for you to go further. Maybe there's no assistant headship positions, however you ask for a secondment that you do it completely free of charge, taking your own personal time, but ask for these types of secondments, go a little bit further, work twice as hard, get that exposure, so when it comes time to it, make your way up. The second point is value your positions. If you are a head of department, I've seen so many positions and colleagues that they move from head of department, and actually I've seen some that are teachers, that whilst they are teachers are saying in 3 years I'm going to become a principal. I respect your ambition, but you have to be real. You will not be prepared for anything within 3 years, certainly principalship. So take your time with this, nurture yourself if no one else is nurturing you. Do your teaching for a few years, perfect your craft, move on to middle leadership, head of department, head of year. Do that for 2 or 3 years, really become really strong in that. Teach yourself, take particular courses. If you cannot afford qualifications, take specific courses to improve yourself online. There's free courses out there. Whilst you're doing that, gain the work experience and exposure of senior leadership through assistant headship, secondment, voluntary work, project-based work. Do that for a number of years, assistant headship that is, if you get that great opportunity. Then move on. Again, I've had assistant heads that have just been promoted perhaps to a senior position, and all of a sudden they want to go beyond that. Take your time with this, guys. Take your time, become stronger, because if you get promoted too soon, and there are always opportunities out there, you don't want to be in a situation that you're promoted so soon that you fail at being a principal, because there's hundreds or thousands of children's lives that your careers in your hands. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you are ill prepared to deal with everything that comes with that. So take your time with this and go further, but treat it as a craft and improve yourselves when it comes to this. But be mindful, you need to interview the position or the school as much as they are interviewing you. Don't be promoted too soon. So I hope these practical tips for you are, help you. But I give this advice to someone that had reached out to me on LinkedIn, and I said, look, take your time with it, be strategic, do this for a number of years. Whilst you're doing this, ask for opportunities. Have you asked? The answer is no. Well, I said, ask for these opportunities, do this particular projects, make your way up, but vocalize. Many leaders will support you if they know what you want to do. Okay, I will make more videos. I'll try to. Life takes over, schools are busy places, so I'm sorry I'm not making these videos as frequently as I should, but I will keep trying to give you whatever experience. And again, these are only my opinion based on my experiences as a school principal and CEO. I'm sure you will have your own. I fully respect if you disagree with anything I've said. This is not to cause any offense, it's just to share my experiences with you. Please share yours with me as well in the comments. I'm always willing to learn from colleagues as well. Looking forward to the next one. Please do like, share and subscribe this video, and if it helps one person, then this 3 or 4 minutes I've spent today was definitely worth it. Thank you.